for coronavirus is low and that our preparedness as a city is very high. There is no reason not to take the subway, not to take the bus, not to go out to your favorite restaurant, and certainly not to miss the parade next Sunday. I'm going to be there.
Yeah, you racist bigot, you better not take any preventative measures trying to stop the insanity that, of course, is unfolding, doubling and tripling and expanding all across the United States. And that, of course, wasn't just a random person on February 2nd. That is the New York City Health Commissioner. And now today, the United States leads the world in confirmed coronavirus cases with New York City, that city where she she is still the health commissioner of, being, of course, the major epicenter. This is Luke Radowski, of course, joined by Tim Pachette, the Liberty Advisor. We're going to do what we always do here, give you the latest update about exactly what is happening socially, politically, and economically. I think we're going to change things up just a little bit in this video. We're only going to be discussing the social and political aspects between me and Tim, and then we're going to do a whole separate video on the economic news, which is just as insane social and political commentary. Now, of course, a lot of people woke up to the news today, especially in the United States, knowing that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom just tested positive for this virus, showing that it could touch anyone and everyone. Also,
who is it? Joe Biden touching everyone and anyone?
And sniffing everyone. You would think if someone was susceptible of getting to this, it would be the guy who's been told many times, hey, stop being weird, stop touching people, stop making them feel uncomfortable, stop sniffing people. You would think it would be that person, but no, he's actually on his internet telescreen doing mainstream media interviews and supposed addresses where he's not really building any confidence in his potential bid for the presidency. He's also coughing on camera, and CNN even had to correct him and say, hey, if you're going to cough, try to cover your mouth there, buddy. So doesn't look too good for that Democratic front runner in this upcoming election, if there even might be election, which some people are even putting that up to a bigger question. Now, going forward with the news, another UK Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, actually came out today and called for a global government to tackle the crisis that we're dealing with here right now. I'm actually going to be doing a specific video about this and Event 21 on the main channel. So if you want more information about that, I'm sorry?
Event 201.
Yeah, Event 201. That's what I said, right? I think so.
21. Yeah, 21. Anyways, no.
I got it mixed up with Agenda 21, which is also something that people should look into.
Which is now Agenda 30. Yeah, which is now Agenda 30 because it got rolled back a little bit. But 1984 was just a little bit on delay here.
Yeah. But a lot of people are trying to find out where this kind of sickness, where this kind of virus is going. And I think it's important to look at other people outside of the United States and other countries handling of this to really get a clear perspective, as obviously Italy has been most severely hit by this coronavirus, and their numbers allegedly already are more than they are in China. But again, the Chinese numbers should be questioned highly, mainly because the Chinese government doesn't usually tell the truth. They usually lie. They usually manipulate information. And it seems like that's exactly what they're doing right now, with them saying that they totally destroyed this virus, which, again, is kind of unbelievable. They're placing a lot of the blame on foreign travelers and tourists. They're closing down their borders as well and saying that only foreigners are bringing in this virus and that they totally dealt with it somehow. And I don't think that's the case, since, of course, China also just shut down all of its cinemas and movie theaters once again. So again, they're making drastic measures. They're still quarantining people in China, as of course we're just getting no data from them at all. They supposedly beat this thing. Doesn't look like it, especially with the measures that they're taking right now. Italy is still peaking with their numbers, and of course people are even looking to extend their lockdown all the way beyond April 3rd, since of course they don't see this panning out well. Spain, that also hasn't taken this seriously, prioritized tourist money over, of course, dealing with this situation, just like we saw many Politicians in the United States here say, don't worry about it. There's only 15 people who are going to have it. Everything's fine. Go to the parades, enjoy your life. Just like we saw the mainstream media run with the headlines, this is no worse than the flu. Everything's going to be okay. Spain had a very similar measure. Their first official death was reported 1 month after it actually happened. There was a lot of suppression of news in Spain. And today it is seeing its highest number of coronavirus deaths in a day, and that is 769 people. And of course, those rates are also going up in that country as well.
They're saying don't worry about it, but in Italy they're just saying forget about it, But I guess I did. So. I'm Italian, so I'm allowed to do that. So
now, what's really interesting is that different locations and different people deal with this virus so much differently. If you look at the death mortality rate of Germany, it's very, very insignificant. You look at the mortality rate in Italy, it's almost as high as 10%. So the mortality rate is something to really look out for. This virus still has a lot of unknowns. We're still finding out information about it. But again, this is why it's impossible to give you a trajectory of exactly what will happen. You look at the case of Germany, Italy, it's also a very similar case between Los Angeles and New York, 2 different cities, 2 different locations, 2 different countries, and the virus is reacting differently in those locations and having a severe effect in one and not that severe effect in another one. And it all depends on how you kind of look at this data and look at this information. But of course, some people are warning that this virus will kill 81,000 people in the United States within the next 4 months, allegedly. But yet again, it's going to be very difficult to make any of those kind of projections that we're looking at right now, mainly because there's still so many unknowns. The mayor of New York City just came out recently, also said, be ready for the city to stay closed up until the end of May. And he's predicting that more of half of its population, 8.6 million people, will become infected with this virus. Again, that's a very strong statement. The Surgeon General also came out and said that some states will be fighting this virus all the way up until Labor Day. And that, of course, he is projecting that Donald Trump's trajectory deadline by Easter won't be met. Again, I don't really trust the Surgeon General. No. The Surgeon General lied to the American public in order to get masks for themselves while spreading very dangerous misinformation that's only making the situation worse. Trump in the beginning hasn't been taking it seriously. He is taking it seriously now, but there's a whole weird reaction from Donald Trump that can't be really generalized to good or bad in my own particular opinion. But there's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things. We have the Surgeon General, we have Donald Trump, we have Dr. Fauci, who again was on Donald Trump's press conferences. He was not on Donald Trump's press conferences. He's now back on Donald Trump's press conferences. He's doing a lot of interviews with the media, and he also is casting doubt on Donald Trump's opening of the economy on Easter. And again, just looking at the
and let's also tease the people a little bit. We have one of someone who worked directly underneath Dr. Fauci, who basically is going to lay out a lot of the dirty laundry coming up on Tuesday of different inside baseball and things that she personally knows with working directly with Dr. Fauci. Because I know it's my personal opinion that he is part of the they them those globalist type crowd. I don't trust the guy as far as I can throw him. But how interesting is that apparently it's going to end on Labor Day, so even the virus is going to take the day off too, as according to the Surgeon General.
I know, right? So again, we have to understand a lot of these projections. I mean, they should be taken with a huge grain of salt, to say the least. So we have the Surgeon General, Dr. Fauci, saying one thing, Donald Trump saying that this virus is less infectious than we initially told the people it is, and that they should prepare to go back to work very soon within the next few days. So again, some researchers saying 80,000 deaths, anything could happen here. A lot of it is still unknown and people are still collecting data. That's why we're sharing as much data as we can with you. There's also information coming in after some researchers took cell phone data, took the heat map, and showed how people were traveling within the last spring break, specifically getting the location data of phones on Florida beaches during spring break. Then they took that information and showed where those phone numbers and where those locations changed. And when you look at this map and you play the video, you should see that again, people travel a lot. A lot of people travel with this virus. A lot of people don't know that they have this virus, and of course, they spread this virus. As there's video footage of many spring breakers saying that they just don't care, now there's actually video footage showing those spring breakers saying, "Oh man, I'm sorry." Some of those spring breakers actually caught coronavirus. Some of the people are not doing that well. This virus affects people in so many different weird ways. You just don't know what to expect. There's healthy people being hit by this as well. There's young people being hit by this as well. And of course, also the elderly and immune compromised. They're just getting ravaged by this. And also people who didn't know that they had a pre-existing condition or had something underlining with their health that affected their reaction to this virus. But if you look at the radar maps, especially of the flight maps, there's still, a lot of flights, not just in the United States. There's also a lot of international flights still happening in the Western Hemisphere. So there is still a significant amount of travel. There are still new hotspots emerging. And from the data that we're looking at, it looks like New Orleans will soon also become the next hotspot here in the United States, as of course they continued their Mardi Gras parade, didn't take this seriously. A lot of government officials, mainstream media didn't take this seriously. We were telling you, hey, I would take this seriously. I would do social distancing. I would have masks, which work. The government is telling you not to wear masks. You should wear masks. And when we look at everything, and again, the whole story is let's just collect all the data. Let's calmly look at it. And let's understand that there's still many variables being found out and determined here. Look at the case: Germany, Italy, New York, LA, two different locations, two different reactions to this virus. People in Los Angeles are, not as largely affected. Testing has been extremely inadequate. New York City has stopped a lot of its testing and is only testing people in ICUs right now. Los Angeles is just starting to test a lot of people, so we're going to really see the true effects of it all. But as we're seeing video footage and images and testimony coming from nurses and doctors, it definitely looks like New York is the most severely hit by this coronavirus in the United States. And of course, it totally makes sense when you look at their public transportation system, how people are moving around, and just the large number of low IQ idiots who weren't taking this seriously. And trust me, I would know.
Maybe if they had more man spreading, then they'd have less of this going on in the subways.
Yeah.
So it's
And New York City health officials saying, hey, yeah, go to the parade. It's totally fine. And again, one of the reasons why they're saying New Orleans will be the hotspot is because of Mardi Gras that was, of course, taking place there. And of course, many spring breakers that were still, partying and prioritizing drinking and having a blast rather than, taking this seriously. If there ever was a time to, practice being a Buddhist monk, being an introvert, boosting your immune system, working on yourself, getting yourself right, this is the time. It doesn't hurt you to be indoors for a little bit. And that's why I've been telling people, please take this seriously. I've got a lot of criticism and flack for it, but I've gotten also a lot of messages of people saying, thank you for having given me this information. I was able to prepare. I was able to have the supplies all the way in February compared to now where, you can't even get toilet paper in most places, which is just absolutely insane. And of course, anything could happen here. A lot of people have some optimism. A lot of people have some hope that it's not going to be that bad. I always want to be prepared for everything. This is why, I've been kind of ringing the alarm bells here, getting, laughed at and getting attacked because of it. But at the end of the day, looking at the way that things, the trajectory here, kind of happy that it came out that the way it did. So,
and speaking of coming out the way it is, I do want to apologize that it seems like the internet's breaking as every single person in the world is home right now on the internet. So there is an article here: homebound workers close to overwhelming internet junctions. And so, of course, the feed actually looks pretty good with Luke and I right now, but it was a little bit laggy. We both have baller internet connections. I have 500 megabyte fiber cable, everything. Luke's got everything all pimped out, and yet it's still laggy, and it's just because every single person's home. So we do apologize for that a little bit. That's why I was trying to show more of the articles on screen. But that's I guess everyone's just practicing their proper social distancing, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a huge question about if the internet infrastructure will keep up. So I've been talking to a lot of people, video conferencing with a lot of people, and especially people in Mexico. I mean, I was even talking to someone in Starbucks that usually has really good internet in Mexico a couple days ago, and I just couldn't even hear them or even see any kind of image of them. So expect more delays. And again, definitely a time to be introspective, be a little bit more introverted, figure yourself out, do some meditation, do some breathing exercises. Everything's going to be okay as long as we're smart, collect all the information, collect all the data, and then we act in a rational way. That's what I think we should be doing. I don't think we should be rushing and making major decisions, but that's just my opinion. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section below. And I think we pretty much covered a lot of the major breaking news, social, politically. Next video, Chimpus Show is going to give us all the latest information about what's happening economically. So stay tuned for that.